Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are tuning in from. This is Tasemere, your host of the Blackout Live from New York. And the purpose of this segment is to celebrate Black folks across the diaspora and to have an open dialogue about Black economics, how we reimagine trends in business, and explore the magic that we have. Today, we have a super special guest who has been like a second mom to me over many, many, many years, and someone that I call on as one of my, prayer warriors when I really need to get some discernment. Her name is Diana Edwards. Woo! Hey, Diana!
Hey, good
Welcome!
morning, Tasemere.
How are you?
Happy Saturday from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Woo, woo, woo!
Woo, 80 degrees today.
Oh, I don't know how it's not 80 degrees in New York. I don't know what it is, but it's not that.
Wow.
So we met each other at the MTA when I was interning there in grad school.
Yes.
And Diana was in the office, and I used to go over to her desk all the time to bug her about just life stuff.
About everything.
About everything. And you had started Sisters Flow at the time, which was like a ministry helping women who were seeking God. And we did a conference together where that was like my first time working on a conference. And Diana was like, Taz, if you stick with me,
yes,
you gonna make it.
Yes.
And now all these years later, we have stayed in each other's lives for such a long time. And you have been such a blessing to me that I had to interview you today.
Thank you.
And let's just talk. What's going on?
Okay, so I'm down here in Charlotte. So I relocated. I really wanted to talk about life after 60. So I relocated from Brooklyn, New York to Charlotte, North Carolina, and I'm just doing my thing here. But
so how was the move? When you decided to move, I remember when you were like, I'm moving to Charlotte, and I was like, huh?
Okay, so when I'm a retire, as you know, I retired from the NCAA transit. So in 2018, I decided to move to Charlotte, but I was going to take my mom with me. But my mother got sick and she had cancer and she passed. So I decided, well, I might as well, it's a reason I might as well stay in New York. So last year during the coronavirus, as everybody was, we were contemplating our lives and, oh no, I can't live like this. So I decided I'm going to look around in Charlotte and move. I was just ready to move. So I got in my car. I drove down here. I found a spot within a week. They told me I could move. I drove back up to New York, emptied out my place, and I'm here.
I remember that time because I was like, huh? What's happening?
When it's not, I'm a firm believer as I don't want to have no regrets. I'll be 60 years old next year. I don't want to live a life of regret. So I'm going to try something once. So if it didn't work out, I'll move down here. If it's not working out, I'll find someplace else to go.
But also, you're so spiritually grounded, though.
Yes.
So that gives you like a whole nother armor of risk taking because you're like, I prayed about it. This is what I feel like I need to do. And there was no way that any of us were going to keep you in New York because you were just like, nah, I got to go.
Sometimes, as you said, I consider myself spiritually grounded, but I've been in this walk a long time. And it took a long time for me to get this place. But when I feel that it's time that God is telling me to move, I'm going to move. I'm going to trust him enough to move because he has it, all in control. So I'm not going to sit here and look for the future and try to figure out what's going to happen to me. in 5 years, because as we see with coronavirus, we might not be here in the next 5 years. So I decided to take a chance. Life is about taking chances. I tried, Taz, which you call your brothers. I have 2 sons, and their whole life is taking chances, which my youngest son just took a chance and left Brooklyn and moved to Chicago. So it's all about taking chances.
Yeah, but you definitely have always told me, like, Taz, pray about it, see what God has to say, and just move in that direction. It don't matter if nobody else think it makes sense, right? But that is so hard to find people that really walk that walk, because people have all these different affirmations that we talk about. Yeah. And I remember when I was at the NTA, I was reading this book, and this lady was putting all this stuff, these like affirmations in these plants. And so I thought I was doing something major. So I come back into the office and I'm like, Diana, I got a prayer plant. And you were like, a what?
I'm a funny set off, and I told you that plant is telling you, please stop putting this paper in me and water me, because we tend to look to other attributes instead of going to the Lord. So we say, this, put it in the prayer plan. God says you don't need a prayer plan. You need me. So I have to tell you that.
Yeah, and then after that, definitely started, delivering my prayers and my hopes and my dreams and my fears. And in that time, Diana was there like right after grad school, and I was having a hard time finding a job. It was like hard. And I kept seeing all these other people around me were getting jobs, and we knew I was smarter than these people. We were like, wait, why can't I find a job? What's going on? And you kind of kept me at, Taz, it's going to be your time. Whenever it's your time, it's going to be your time. Don't get nervous. Don't pay attention to what you don't have. Don't pay attention to what other people have. Just focus on what you have to do
to get to
where you think you want to go, because where you think you want to go might not even be where you're really supposed to be at, for real, right? Yeah. But that was such a hard moment for me, because I felt like I was constantly getting the short end of the stick. And you kept redirecting me to like praying about it. And I was frustrated, and I was kind of praying, but I was also frustrated. And I was also jealous of what I thought other people were doing. And I felt like they were getting all these opportunities, and I was kind of like still stuck in the same place. And I didn't really know what my place was going to be, or who I was going to be, or what I wanted to do. And that was around like almost every aspect of my life. Diana was like, do you want to get married? I was like, I don't know. I'm confused. I don't know what that looks like. Where do you want to live? I don't know. I'm in New York. I was like so confused at that time around what to do, how to do, where to go. And I remember we worked on that conference together. Mm-hmm. And that was like, Diana has always been really bold. We were like, okay, we're going to do this conference. And we didn't even know how many people were going to show up.
No. We had to stop selling tickets. Remember, we had to stop selling tickets.
We were like, okay, we're going to find out how much it costs. Mm-hmm. And we didn't have any money set aside for this particular conference at all. It was just like, this was something that Diana felt was on her heart to do and to impact, when we didn't have no speakers, we didn't have no program. We just had like literally an idea.
Remember, Taz, we didn't even have a date. And I said, all of us need to pray. And we all came up with the same date.
Yep.
So you see the power of God working.
And I think that was like not one of my first times, but that was like definitely a pivotal moment in when you're following what your path is, even if no one else understands what it is, but if you lean into your faith, a lot of things can happen. And this was really interesting to see because so many women came out.
Yes.
And so many women were like bawling and crying from everyday people just sharing their journeys and their testimony. And really, you know, I think that was like the beginning of you starting your journey on becoming a chaplain, because it was like, oh my gosh, you were just like heavy into trying to understand the Bible and interpret it for like everyday people. And it was really, really, really great to see also your journey change over time. My journey was changing. I was walking into whoever I was going to be. I didn't even know what that was. You were getting ready to retire. I remember Dion was getting ready to graduate. Corey was here. He had a girlfriend that became his fiance. Then he moved to DC. And to see all of that like happen over this time was just like very a walk in the past.
You know what, Taz? One of the biggest misconceptions that we all have is we look at others and we say, how come we not doing this? But you don't know what it takes. You know what my favorite song is? Mary, Mary, it's the God in me. Nobody knows what it takes to get to you where you're going. So when we start looking at others, we get discouraged. No, you gotta move on. You just gotta keep moving on. So I was trying to show you. So what a lot of people don't know, I was a party promoter too. If you could write a book on my life, I was a party promoter, and I used to deal with a lot of celebrities and big time. But always in my head, God was saying, "You're not doing the right thing. You're not doing. You leading people down the wrong lane." So once I decided, to lead people the right way, that's how I was moving. So all of that party experience and promotion experience came this way, which is great.
But also, you were always like an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Even though you had your full-time job at the NTA, you were always, and people followed you, right? People were like coming to you for advice, to just like hang out. And you were always very persistent in your belief. Like you weren't afraid to say, I'm a Christian anywhere. No. It was like, I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to like tuck it away or anything like that. So that was also like very inspirational, I think, for a lot of people, because some people kind of, don't feel like religion has a place in a lot of public places.
Well, once I said that's the first thing. I'm a Christian. Just deal with me the rest of it. You just got to deal with me. I'm not going to deny the Lord, because if we deny him, he's going to deny us. So y'all deny me, then he do. So with the entrepreneurial perspective, so I'm a very resourceful person. I know how to make my money. Let me tell you something. As a matter of fact, I'm retired and I'm here in Charlotte, and somebody said, "You want to make some money working at the IRS?" I said, "Sure." So I'm working at the IRS right now for a month. But when I started praying, I said, "Lord, I want to get a business where it will honor you, and I can let people know that I'm a Christian, but I want to make money. It's all about making money." And he gave me this idea to do T-shirts, and they were empowering. So they're not all Christian T-shirts, but they positive. So when I started making some T-shirts, he opened the doors, because I was invited to Bronx Week, and I was saying, I'm not even a Bronx resident. I was invited to do big fit. So me as a first time vendor was able to do Brooklyn, Atlantic Antic, all of the big major, what do you say, venues. I was able to get in there. So once you ask the Lord, Lord, help me out, and He opened the doors for me. I even got a little business down here in Charlotte. You won't believe this, but when they had, I was here for Juneteenth celebration, and I went to a block party. And in my mind, I said, let me make a couple of T-shirts and sell them. And I sold out, and that started my business down here. So once, Taz, I always try to tell you, give it to the Lord first. God, what should I do? What should I do? And He'll open the doors and lead the way.
So in this women over 60 thing, how are the women out in Charlotte compared to the women here in New York City?
Well, I find Charlotte women are more hustlers. They get out here and do what they have to do. And it's, do you know what I found the difference too, Taz? I guess New York women are so independent. Most women that I meet down here, they married, you know, they got a family, they take care of their family, and they out here hustling 2 and 3 jobs because it's getting expensive here. And you know, I have to humble myself. I don't tell them, look, I'm getting a pension check, because I do get paid every month, right? But you can't put that out there. I listen to them, and they struggling just like we are, but I feel that New York women are more, I'm not saying arrogant, but you know, a little more like, what? I got this and I got that, where they're a little bit more humbler. So
I find that too. In moving and talking to people and working in other cities, I feel like sometimes people are a little bit more hungrier.
yeah.
And I feel like they're a little bit more open to I wouldn't even say feedback, but I would say conversation.
Yeah.
I feel like in New York, people feel like they got it together already. I don't need no help.
I need help. Yeah.
I got it. Don't tell me nothing about what I'm doing. I don't need your input, kind of thing. But they really do need your input, but they just faking it for the funk, right?
That's that pride. Taz, that's pride. I don't need to answer. But you know me, Taz, I will ask anybody. Should I do this? What should I do? Can you help me? So that's one of the biggest, for as a Black woman, that's one of the biggest things, our pride. We too proud to say we doing bad. We too proud. So I even have a couple of women, they want to start a little something down here with me. And I was trying to explain finances to them. How you got to get your credit score up. Because I met like 3 women and they want to buy houses down here, but your credit score is in the 500s. It's no way. You gonna pay, if I pay 2% interest rate, you paying 20%. So I'm down here trying to tell them, because a lot of people tend to look up to me. I don't know why. If you know my story, look, I got a lot of issues, but you know, but I get it where people don't, if you're not taught, Taz, I always told you that. If you're not taught something, you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So if I hear you asking me, oh, I want to get a house, how did you get it? Because I got a new car, you know, God bless me with a new car. How do you get that? I explain how I got my credit score up. Once you have your credit score, once your finances in order, then you rule the game. So I'm trying to explain to them, yo, pay your bills. Just pay your bills. Pay your bills, and you can get a far loan. You can get a loan.
Now, I want to talk about, you went back to school to study. How was that, like going back to school?
Okay, so my oldest son is 37 and my youngest son is 31. So when they were in college, I went to college. So that was my intention, to graduate. When my oldest son graduated, I'm gonna graduate. But life happened. So when my youngest son went to college, I started back college again. And that was my intention. I'm going to graduate with him. And then life happened. So now the running joke in my family is like, oh, with your grandkids, you're going to be graduating with your grandkids. So I said, I really wanted to finish my degree because I've been to college. I have so many credits. I even been to seminary school, but I never finished. Every time something happened, something happened. So I decided I'm going back to college. So I went to college, which was, the adults go at night. So I went in the morning with the 18-year-old who can be my grandchildren.
And how was that? How was that experience?
God is so good because they start calling me Mom. Oh, we got Mom. I have so many sons now from the college. But I just so happen, and I'm not bragging, but I just so happen to have a 4.0 average. And the professors were, especially my English, because Taz, I love writing. So my English professor wanted to mentor me on the side because I told him I did a little devotional, self-published. So they would come to me, meet me in the library, meet me here so I can help them. They would call me. I had told one young man, he texted me about 11:30 at night, you up? I'm like, you sounded like this is a booty call, not a educational call. So I had to check them. But so God had really put me in there to mentor these young men. It was a lot of young men, which one, he started his own, he was just like you, Taz, and he started his own audio production company because I had that too, and I had all that equipment. And he just moved to Dallas. And as he was driving through, he called me. And I said, no, you too far over. Keep going. Because he wanted to stop in. But I speak to him. So I didn't finish because of coronavirus, because I'm not an online person. So I couldn't grasp the whole, I'm going to do a whole semester. I'm not paying for 2 semesters online. So, I've just put it on hold. I withdrew and put it on hold. But I'm going to get my degree. I'm going to get my degree.
I believe it.
If that's what it takes. So, but besides that, I met a young man in there whose uncle is the head of the United States chaplaincy for the Supreme Court. And he shared with his uncle, oh my God, you got to call. She's like my mother, Diana. I think she would be a great chaplain. So they called me and I took a couple of chaplaincy classes when I was in seminary, but I never went with it. Because I know you had to have a master's degree and this and that. So Taz, that worked out where the uncle was like, oh my God, I want you on our team. So now I'm a chaplain. I took the classes. I'm a chaplain and they want me to open up a program down here in Charlotte.
So and this is all women turning 60 or in their 60s, and you are still moving.
You know what, my son, when I told Corey I'm getting ready to retire, he said, well, what you going to do? And he, in the next breath, he said, oh, I forgot who I was talking to. I'm not going to lay down and die. So I don't believe turning 60, you're supposed to lay down and die. It's too much work. I will work to the end. I'm going to work. If that means, mentoring people, because I have a heart for mentoring. I have mentored you. I got so many people that call me, but I have a heart. I hate to see people that are lost because there's always a road to go. So I will try till my dying breath, try to help somebody out.
Yeah, we have a comment here. Mentorship is important.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I like to relate that back to this village concept, because I was just talking to I have to say my birth mom, because I have so many moms, as you know. I think my mom was a surrogate mom to so many people. But it's so interesting that she understood that she didn't have all the tools to give me everything that I needed or answer all the questions that I had about different things, that she allows me to make other motherly connections with other people. And that is so unexpected. You were there at the virtual baby shower. I had like how many mamas in
like 10
in the joint? Everybody was like plays different roles, and I feel like that to me, mentorship for me is an extension of my village, which is an extension of Elijah's village now, because he has so many grandmas. And I think one of the concepts is that women are very jealous. But in my experience, having this combine of all these moms, you guys just know your space. Like nobody interferes with your designated space. How can we replicate that?
Because you have it, and you have let you know. So I believe that everybody has something to give. So even with my son, if I don't have anything to give to him, but you do, I'm not that insecure to say, oh my God, they're going to do this. They're going to take my sons. First of all, when they was young, I said, go ahead, take them. Look, getting on my nerves. But people have to be secure enough. You know what I told this young lady yesterday? I said, if you don't know who you are, somebody else going to tell you who you are. And you have to be secure enough. Your mother was so secure that we were at the graduation. Oh, that's your daughter, Diana. Oh, where she knew if something she didn't have and I had, it connected. It's all about helping you. When you love somebody, you want to help them no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to have, like you say, in order to mentor people, you have to have a candidate willing, the person willing, but you have to look at their family. If they're willing to have somebody help you.
Yep.
You know, if you don't have, if I said, Taz, I'm going to mentor you, and your mother was like, oh, I don't like her. It's so much conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, people are jealous and they're insecure. So that makes it look like I'm less of a mother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If I'm showing you stuff and you always coming home and, oh, she taught me this and she taught me that. But your mother was like, no, tell my daughter, look, go on.
Yeah, I had so many moms at my master's graduation. People didn't really know who my mom was. And then even at Eli's baby shower, there was so many. When I tell people like, oh my gosh, Eli has like 6 or 7 grandmas, and they all have different calling times on FaceTime with him. I think people don't understand. It's a disconnect between saying you want a village and actually seeing one in action. And the thing is like, well, what does your mom think about it? I was like, she don't think nothing about it, because these are people who have been around for such a long time, right? I don't know if I could take any more applications for moms. I think I'm all mommed out. I think I'm all mommed out. But I think that it has definitely helped to cultivate like the woman that I have been able to become. And especially with you in particular, that spiritual piece, right? That like, hey, I don't really understand what this scripture said. What does it say? Because you have that information, right? You could break it down for me. And every time I call you, you're like, girl, let me give you, I still have in my Bible where you wrote out this scripture. This is what you need to meditate on. Like, keep meditating. Meditate on this scripture. This is what it says. This is what it means. This is what it does. I find that has helped to mold me in all these different ways. So when people see me, they think that they're just seeing me. They don't know that I have all these people behind. Exactly.
But Ted, think about it as your son. That's what you want. When so people, it's all about pride. You can't tell me how to raise my sons. You know, people don't want you to tell them nothing. But if you're open enough to hear it, you know, like I told you, I hear if somebody, when I was in this t-shirt business game and I made a lot of money, Tad, you were with me a lot of times. But I wasn't so stuck with, oh no, if another vendor said, you should do it this way, I did it that way. You know, let me try it out. Because a lot of people will give you advice that you definitely shouldn't take.
I know, and I even call you, Diana. What should I do? How should I do? Do you know how to do
this? No, don't do that. No. And you have to be, in order to mentor somebody, you have to be not afraid. You can't be afraid to tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't, if somebody is doing something wrong, like here's the joke too. And we all know it was the Will Smith, you know, the slap across the world. But I said, if they would have scanned my face, if I was sitting next to Will Smith after he slapped Chris Rock, you would have saw my face like, what the, I would not have sat there with a smile on my face. I would have said, what are you doing? So people are afraid to tell the truth. So you can't mentor somebody. Attach, you know, I told you a whole lot of times. You told me something. No, I'm that's the right thing. You know, you ain't listen. A lot of times you didn't listen, but then you had to come back and say, "Oh, you were right. You were right." In order, I'm very big on mentoring, even to show people how they to hustle, make money, live life. But you have to be mindful of feelings, you know. But you always have to tell the truth. And Ted, I told you, Ted, I said, write this down. I said, one day you're going to be, I said, stick with me because you're going to be a big time executive. You're going to do this and you're going to do great things. So I saw it in you. That's why I allowed you. Remember, I said, I'm not taking care of none of the business part of the Sisters Flow. You want to take care of all of that. So you see how that experience was you know, pertinent to where you are now.
Of course, because you know, folks, the DM firm turned 5 on Easter. Mm-hmm. Super excited about that. But before the DM firm, I really didn't think I was gonna be this entrepreneur, right? Because I was so used to being in the background, just helping everybody else realize their dreams and their goals. But all of that was teaching me what I needed to do when I decided to become an entrepreneur, which wasn't even in my vision at all. And I remember when I was calling people to tell them, hey, I'm going to quit my job. Not many people actually thought I had what it took to like do this, but they also didn't know all the other things that I had already did with like planning your conference and figuring out how to sell these tickets and you teaching me how to like promote something and going around and you have people, you know, you were at work, but you were still like, all right, so you're going to do these tickets and then you got to do this and then you got to email this to don't throw any emails away. Keep all the emails because you don't know what you're going to need years from now. And you called me for something and I was like, I got it in my email. But all of those tools definitely helped me when I decided to start the DM firm. And to be honest, part of being an entrepreneur that people don't talk about is that you have to lean a lot on your faith.
Yeah,
it is really unpredictable. One moment you can be like on the top of the world, the next, but oftentimes nobody's calling you.
No, I gave you when you first started, and it says, "Do not despise small beginnings." So we leave and step out and do what we have to do, and we're not going nowhere. It's not doing this, but the Bible says, "Do not despise small beginnings." Like, okay, you can't start out big because you have no place to go. But people look at it when they first start out, they expecting, oh, I'm gonna leave and it's gonna be so much success. You know, success comes along the way. So
it
most people
does.
give up. So I tried to tell you, and I remember when you told me you were leaving your job. I said, "Girl, I'm gonna meet you up in Harlem. We're gonna go to get something to eat." So I was like, "Do it," because I love it. My oldest son, he's my aspiration because I always tell him when I grow up, I want to be just like you. Because in a drop of a dime, okay, I want to do this. He has no fear of I want to do this. And a lot of people say that's because mom, you
Well,
know.
yeah. Well, I can say from Dion and Corey, they will pick up and go to another
Yes.
country without having a lot of things planned out, but they definitely lean a lot into their faith. Like they're
Yeah.
gonna figure it out, right? Corey has traveled the world. He has been here. Tegan has her passport, right? Um, and then Dion is just like, he works at some place and that doesn't bother his spirit, and he's like, this isn't the place for me to be. He's not saying, oh, I gotta stay here because I gotta make this money. He's like, no, I'm gonna move on to the next place that I feel works with my spirit and my skill set. And if that means that I have to pick up and move to a whole nother city, I'm gonna do that, right? And so they have totally been super fearless. I wasn't always like them, right? I was like a little scared. I was always like, Diana, I don't know, I don't see it. I wasn't always somebody that was so spiritually grounded because I also wanted to see at the same time, and I didn't always understand that sometimes it's not meant for me to see it. I just got to do it, and that was kind of like what was holding me back. But the more I practiced, right, like saying like I'm gonna just do it. Now people think I was born this way, but they don't think that I had to.
Yes, when you plan stuff. So this is what I learned out of my almost 60 years. We decide we want to do something, but we have our own plan to what it's supposed to be and how it's supposed to be. So when it don't fall into the way our plans go, we give up. So if you can, and that's the hardest thing to do is say, I'm just going to do it. I don't care. Let the chips fall. So
we have Doug from Oakland saying hi. Hey, Doug.
So if you want to start a new business, of course you have to have a little plan but don't be so tied up and so solid because things go all different ways. I tell everybody, if I wrote the script of my life, a whole lot of pages would be cut out. A whole lot of characters would have been missing. You know what I'm saying? So here's another thing. When I get something in my head, you know that's me. If I get something in my head, I usually pray about it. And if I feel, okay, I'm going to try it. A lot of times I just did it and it didn't work out. So here's another thing I'm working with. So I found so I've authored a book, right? And I love to write. So I found my ancestors. I'm on this big ancestry kick because I want to know where I came from, right? And where I found out that my great-grandfather, who died in 1918, was the first he was born a slave, but he was the first Black educator in King and Queens, Virginia. He was a pastor of a church for 29 years. So it's so much rich history. So I want to know where I come from. So now I'm decided, I'm gonna write a book. Look, so I was able to go all the way up into my sixth. That's a blessing. My sixth great grandmother, and I have actual documents. So now I'm planning on. I'm not copying off the Alice Daily, but doing a little root saga of what I think my family went through. So that's my next project. I'm going to write another book.
I love it. I mean, and this is like around life after 60 is so much more to do, right?
It is.
And you never really start. I remember when you called me to tell me about this, I was like, I need to look into mine too, because I don't know, right? It was something that I had thought about, but nothing that I had actually like made reality at some point. But I think that all helps to motivate us, because people say all the time, I'm my ancestors' biggest dreams. But then we don't even know our ancestors, right? We haven't really taken the time.
And you know what I found out through my investigations? That my great-grandmother's side of the family, we were free. We wasn't even enslaved. And I have the actual documents from 1742 when my fifth great grandmother, they gave her freedom because she had a baby by one of the slave masters. So they took the baby and all her kids were free. So down the years, I even have it where, so I said, I come from a line of strong Black women. She might have had, was enslaved and had that baby, but she said, we're going to do something about this. So I can really relate to my big grandmother where we might get in situations, but we're going to do something about this.
So tell the people how you started. Where did this idea of actually doing the research come from, and how hard was it to do it?
Okay, so my mother's younger brother passed away, right? So my maternal grandfather always said it was the family story that he walked, which I know that wasn't true, to New York from Virginia when he was like 10 years old. So when my uncle passed, my aunt told me that my uncle said, oh, I met our uncle, and he lives in Virginia. He was in Virginia, and she was like, I got an uncle. So we never really knew that side of the family. So they asked me to go on, because they know, Taz, I'm a history buff major. So they asked me to do the ancestry. They were willing to pay me, do the ancestry.com. So I found that my grandfather did have a brother, and he just died in 2005. And so I shared with my aunts. I said, you could have knew your uncle and your families. That's so sad. So then I found out that I found out so many things, but you can't do it on the free version. You got to do the paid version. So the flip side is two of my cousins, they were in high school. They about my age. They were doing a family project for high school, and it took them like 30 years to get all our information, but they sent it to me. So I have information on my maternal side and paternal, but it's very hard. You have to talk to people, because I have a cousin that's 87, but her mind is very sharp. And she was able to give me names. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of work, but it can be done. I even joined the Middle Virginia African Ancestry group. So when I was on the call, says this lady said, Diana, are you still on this line? I said, yeah. She said, you my cousin. Because I took a DNA test and I did it. So it's like interesting to find out. They say it can't be done. Taz, I'm telling you, I found my sixth great grandma.
And how do you feel that has impacted your life now, knowing this information? How do you feel that this impacts you?
Because you know where I come from. If you read in the Bible, Jesus, there is 14 generations of Jesus. Look, we know when you know who you are and you know where you came from, it's like a satisfaction. I used to separate myself from Africa. I always say, I never want to go to Africa, because we don't know our history. So of course, we look at Africans as these they running around in the huts and whatever, but we actually come from there. You know what I'm saying? So I always tell people, know your history. good or bad, know where you come from. And you can live off that. So I can either take it and say, yo, they were bad people. I'm not going to live that way. You know, you can know your history.
But also, you and your family went, and one of your uncles or grandpas or somebody didn't have a headstone,
so
and you guys decided to do that.
My great grandmother, nobody knew where she was buried at, but you know, Inspector Clouseau here found her. So once I found her, I said, and I prayed, I said, God, let me find my great grandmother. And so I found her. Taz, when I tell you, we searched and searched, and it came to me, look on her death certificate, and sure enough. So she's buried next to my great grandfather, but she has no marker. But what happened was she died first, and then he died two months later. So they probably just didn't have the time. So I said, if I find her, what should I do? And I said, if I find her, I'm gonna put a headstone on her grave. And I found her, and somebody hooked me up. Taz, you know I have a lot of hookups. Somebody called me and said, call these people in Gloucester, Virginia. And they're in the process now of putting the headstone on her grave to honor her. Because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be here. So I think we all should do that. Where we come from, they had hard lives. And what happened when I told my younger son, I said, you know what, Dion, I'm going to write a screenplay where that's his 7th great grandmother is looking, you know, she was enslaved and she's looking, and all of a sudden she see you, 7 generations. He's the head of equity and diversity of China now. You know what I'm saying? My son, he's the head writer. He's the speech writer for the USA, for the government. To see where she was at and to see where her 7 generations grandkids. And I told Dion, write this down. He goes, oh, I got it. Write it down. So I want people to see where we were and where we are now. I have a cousin. My first cousin is the head of pediatrics in Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. So to see the enslaved Elizabeth to where her grandchildren are now, come on. So that gives hope for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We got to live a life of hope. And Taz, I tell you all the time, go for it. Just do it. Because the biggest dream killers is ourselves. Oh, no. If you got a dream, go for it. I always said I was going to move to North Carolina when I was a little girl. And I see I'm here now. You know, I could have been still sitting in Brooklyn like, oh, I want to move. Oh, I'm ready to go. Just go. Just go. And if it don't work out, Taz, try something else. That's if it don't, be humble enough to say, yo, I messed up. This is not weird. Well, I'm not afraid. People always tell me, oh, you don't never be stable. I'm not afraid to say, yo, I screwed up. This ain't it. Well, let me find out what it is. What
mm-hmm.
is it? So that's why I tell I'm so proud of you. I've seen you. I had to come to work and say, oh, Lord, what's wrong with this girl today? What's wrong with her? You were to where you are now. And you know I'm proud of you of everything that you accomplished. I always tell you, go for it. When we think too much on it, like, oh, no. Go for it. Do this. I'll be there.
It's so, even when I think back to that and think back to before the MTA, it wasn't easy. I never would have thought I would have winded up being this person. Every time I call Diana now, she's like, oh Lord, what happened now? What are you doing? I can't take it anymore. Last month was a month of, I can't take it anymore, Taz. What are you doing this week? What is going on? But you have to share, right? Because it's like, to understand all of that you put in work and not knowing where it was going to be to now reaping some of the benefits of your labor with people that were there with you before you even started on the journey is such a blessing.
Remember Will and Grace? Remember they had just every time for the audience, every time something good happened to us, we would say, "Just God." Just God. Remember that time?
I remember. And it was such a warm feeling to have that. And I'm so happy that you have stuck it out with me on this crazy, crazy journey of me trying to figure out what kind of woman I was going to be. Where was I going to go? Because before anything else, I was trying to figure out just me. Like, and there were so many people that were trying to define me because I was trying to also discover myself. So I went through a lot of different journeys, from like, how am I going to do my hair, to what clothes am I going to wear, to what friends am I going to have? That was also a big thing. Like, who should I do? Who should I go out with? Should I go out for drinks? Should I not go out for drinks? It was just like a whole journey of trying to figure it out. And now that I have some pieces figured out, and now the newest journey is figuring out my motherhood journey. It is so interesting, and I'm so grateful and enormously blessed that you have decided to go on this wild journey of me coming from becoming a young woman to becoming a mom and an entrepreneur and a founder and all the other titles that I will get along my lifetime, and also to continue to push me to think about what's next, right? But from a faithful perspective of what's next, and not being afraid to share my story with folks.
Remember, I said, you want to be married? You want to get married? And you say, I don't know how to be married. And I went out and bought you a book on how to be a wife, a faithful wife.
You did, and we read it together. And you were like, okay, Chaz, because most people have this story of like, I don't really know how to be a wife, or I don't know how to be a husband because my parents aren't married, or my friends haven't gotten married. And even though sometimes your friends get married, that's not necessarily the model you want to replicate. And so to have you and Joy and Nadine at the time at the MTA, who were married or had been married before, really shared that this is what being a wife looks like, right? Because first you are a girlfriend, then you are a fiance, then you are a wife. So this is what this role of wife looks like, and it's way more to it than the wedding, right? And Joy at the time had did an arranged marriage, and she had arranged her kids' marriage. So that was it was the whole concept of what it takes to be in this union and what that means. And as a Christian, what does that look like was really important, I think, for me to understand what I might be getting myself into because I had no idea.
Taz, you know what the key to mentorship is? You don't ridicule, like you told me, I don't know how to be married. You don't ridicule a person for something they don't know. That's why I said here, you don't criticize a person. You were telling your truth. I don't know. So if you don't know, I know, I'm supposed to tell you, and show you. So the sad thing is, a lot of people can't mentor. And I have a heart for mentoring young ladies. I got to tell you everything that I know. Look, that I know this good, bad, this is going to happen, this is not going to happen. This is this. But if you're not willing to share, some people don't want to share the wisdom because they don't want them to grow over them. Oh, they're gonna know more than me. It's enough for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if I know something, that's why I expect if somebody knows something, why can't you tell me?
That is completely true. I feel like that, along with, you know, getting my first apartment, was a big deal for us. For me having my first real job.
I remember what you had in the middle of the floor. I remember.
I grew up, right? And so it is very, very interesting to just see the development. And I really would like for us to pour into each other a little bit more. And I also, you know, I have all these mentors and a million moms, and my team, my squad is always there. Don't make me have to call any of them because they will come running. But I feel like it's immensely important for us to do that, and I'm always hopeful that I make you guys proud, because whether people know that you are there, I know that you are there because I just called you a few days ago. Diana, what do I do about this? How do I do this? What do you think? And you don't always have to be the most educated, right? That's another thing that I think people feel like I can't help because I'm not the most educated, and that doesn't matter because I learned so much from you about being a Christian, how to carry friendships, how to be okay with friendships growing and not trying to hold on to people that might not need to go to the next level, but you're so afraid. And I watched you transition friendships that I was like, oh, that's how you do it? Oh, okay. To dating, to serious relationships, to having children. It has been great to just watch you even move to Charlotte.
I'm out.
Yeah, because you shocked me. I was holding the phone like, wait, you doing? I don't got enough time to come over. I was trying to figure out how to get over there.
I didn't tell people because once you start telling, if God already put that in my heart to move to Charlotte, I didn't need nobody's 2 cents. I didn't need your opinions. I didn't need that, because once you start listening to other people's opinions and what they would do, if it was me, I would do this. So what I did was I packed up. I told my children, I think I told you, and told my aunts, and I left. Then I put it out. I'm living in Charlotte now because if I would have listened, that's one of the things too. If you about to go to the next level, be careful who you share everything with, because there are people, even good meaning people, will try to talk you out of anything because they don't understand the vision. They don't understand this. So do it, then tell them. You know, that's what I did it. I had my cousins call me. I don't believe you didn't tell me. I'm telling you now.
And Dion did a similar thing just a few months ago. When you were up here, he was doing. I spoke to him for a bit. Super excited, and I think that's what we have to start doing, right? Supporting. This is what, if people don't know what support looks like, they could just replay this show.
I said, I'm moving to Chicago. You know what I did? We got on the website, started looking for apartments. I drove the 10 hours from here to New York, helped them pack up. But I got tired of New York. I stayed there 10 days and I came back.
And you got some goodies too, because Dion was buying all the fancy smancy kitchen appliances that he wasn't taking with him.
Still hooked me up. But when Corey, with my oldest son, he said, "Mom, I want to work for the World Bank." And Corey was making almost 6 figures at his place in New York. And he said, "I'm going to quit my job because I need to get my master's from Johns Hopkins Business School." You know what I did? I brought him some Johns Hopkins sweatshirts. His brother brought him Johns Hopkins this. So his brother said, Ma, suppose he don't make it in. I said, well, at least he got the sweatshirts. And my son, so I didn't say, oh no, we encouraged him. He made it. Not only did Corey get his master's of his MBA, he was the head of in John Hopkins in Washington, mind. He was the head of the Black whatever. They did the Trayvon Martin sit-ins. He did a lot while he was there. I didn't just tell him, no, if you want to go, all right, I gave you that. Here's your shirt. This is what you need to look forward to. So we got to encourage others. We have to encourage others. If they want to do it, don't be like, oh, if I was you, because that's the biggest drawback. If I was you, but you are not me. You are not me. So I feel that, and this is for anybody listening, if somebody has a dream or vision, even if you don't agree with it, talk a good game. Oh yeah, you can make it. In your mind, you might be saying, I don't think it's gonna work out. But don't tell them that. Let them tell you it didn't work out. Because I don't want to be the one where my children were sitting back in Brooklyn 50 years from now saying, my mother said, if she would have told me this, I could have did this. I don't want to be the one to hold anybody back. So that's my advice to anybody. If somebody has a business they want to share, if somebody has anything, implement this, that, listen to them. Do my famous, okay, yeah, you can do that. Okay, listen to them. Don't in your mind. They used to have a commercial said, never let them see you sweat. I go home and say, yo, why are they doing that? But I'm not going to tell you. I want you to come back and tell me, yo, that ain't work out. Then I might give you a little, maybe you should have did it this way. So if anybody has I'm a firm believer. Like I said, I'll be 60 years old. I can't wait till I get my Social Security too. Who knows where I'm gonna be at in the next 2 years? I'm not saying Charlotte is the place. I'm opening myself up enough to say, God, whatever. But I know, hope he don't tell me to move back to New York, because I do not want to come back. But man, I'm like with you, with your business and all that stuff. I listen to you and try to give you a little advice. If this, do it this way, do it that way. But I'm not going to say, no, Taz, don't do this, don't do that. Because who am I? Mm-hmm. I tell you, don't do. Everybody has a different journey. Everybody. So I just want everybody on the listening ear to say, if somebody has a dream, vision, anything they trying to do, don't beat it down. You can beat it down in your own self. Look, go home and say they stupid. I would never do that. But don't tell them that. One thing I never told my children was, you're stupid. I never told them stupid. Oh, you stupid. You shouldn't do this. Never. Because I don't want nobody calling me stupid. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not stupid. I'm very intelligent. I might do stupid things. But my whole essence is not stupidity. But I believe you always have to encourage people and lift people up. Lift them up.
We had a great show today. We talked about a lot. We talked about being a Christian. We talked about going back to college. We talked about how Diana met me and had me to stop putting my prayers in the prayer plant.
Yes.
To ancestry and finding your ancestors for real. It takes some work.
Be on the lookout.
Diana got a new book coming out that when you get the book, when you get, like, what is it called? The sample where you have people read it around, you can come back and tell us when it's coming out. I'm super, super, super excited about it. Thank you for waking up early to do this interview with me.
Girl, I was laid out and I couldn't get on my computer, but God did it.
And we will be back here again next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.